One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown, and welcome to One Question, where we highlight executive leaders in college athletics. Our guest today is Portia Hoeg. Portia was recently named the Executive Director of Athletics at Rhodes College. Greetings, Portia. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Ty.
Now, Portia, you've been in college athletics for 16 years. You're moving over from your position was Director of Athletics and Recreation at Allegheny College, moving down to Memphis. You'll start here pretty soon as Executive Director of Athletics at Rhodes College in Memphis. I just want to ask a couple questions about that job. Rhodes is pretty successful. They won their Commissioner's Cup this year, and the athletic department is set up pretty uniquely. A lot of people who work in the athletic department are also coaches, but I'd really like to know what attracted you to the job there at Rhodes.
Absolutely. Rhodes College is one that I've been familiar with since I was a student athlete. We actually played them in the conference that I was a part of, and I always thought they had a beautiful campus. When the position opened up and I continued to do more research, it was really appealing to me to be at a top 50 academic institution. Rhodes represents that. Also, the beauty of campus, as I've already mentioned, their athletic excellence as well. They have a really strong tradition. They had both lacrosse programs finish in the Sweet 16 this year. The baseball team was one win away from the College World Series. They have a bevy of young coaches that are hungry and excited to make their mark, not only in the conference level, but also on a national level. So that was really appealing to me in my growth as a professional, to be at an institution that truly values the Division III philosophy, but also looks to excel on the national stage. So I see myself also being challenged as this is the first time they're going to have a full-time athletic director after several years of having the position combined with coaching. So that, too, was something I wanted to be a part of, reestablishing and being a part of the administrative strength and reorganizing the department in a way that will continue to excel what they're doing athletically as well as academically.
If you are someone like me who gets excited about organizational culture and organizational leadership, that sounds like it'll be an exciting challenge for you down at Rhodes College to reorganize that athletics department.
Absolutely, yes. The administrative nerd in me is really looking forward to take a deep dive into the org chart and looking at responsibilities in the department and understanding fully how the lay of the land and how they operate on a campus like Rhodes.
I want to ask you a couple more questions. One of them is going to be about your first 100 days on the job and what plan you have. But before we get into that, I'd like to know about your core values. Great leaders always know who they are and what they will stand for and what type of environment they want to create for themselves based on what their values are. Can you tell us a little bit about your core values and how will you ensure that they will be properly applied and they will be followed within the department, and also that they'll match with the values of the institution there down the road?
Absolutely. I very much value integrity. I think when you're an NCAA institution, there's certain rules and regulations that you need to follow, and you can do so and still be very successful. So integrity would be one of the things that is at the top of my list. Accountability. Everyone's responsible for their actions, and they're responsible for the management of their program. So people will be held accountable to those standards, and if they cannot, then obviously that would need to be addressed. I'm a big family person, and I want people to understand that it's the we over me. So it's about the department as a whole. It's not necessarily about one or two programs. It's about the success of all programs. Communication is also something that I strongly believe in, and I think overall with the core values, it's something that you not only walk it and talk it, but you also live it and breathe it in your day-to-day. So it's something that resonates in your policies and procedures, and it's something that is reinforced at every meeting or retreat to ensure everyone's on the same page. But also in the hiring process, those are your questions or surrounding these particular core values to ensure that you're bringing people into your culture that are able to be in alignment with those values and continue that legacy in a very positive way. So it's something you establish day one. As a leader, it's something I want to walk and talk and live myself, because I'm expecting them to live to that standard. So I myself must also be living to that standard too.
Right, which is very important. And I was recently on a conference call with Jim Knowlton, who just took over as athletics director at Cal, and he talked about his listening days, right? I would interpret that to mean kind of the first 100 days on the job. What he's going to do is listen to people and find out about the culture at Cal and find out what's going on there. Do you have a plan for your first 100 days on the job in this new position?
Absolutely. I think it's really important to have what I would call the listening tour. You allow people to take you to lunch and take you out for coffee, and it's every constituency group you can think of, from the student athletes to the coaches and the administrators to your campus constituents, student life, faculty members, people that work in the residence halls, the people that work in the dining halls. All of them have a perspective on the department and maybe even some institutional history, and also being in a community like Memphis that truly embraces Rhodes and everything that they do. I'd also like to make connections there and hear what they have to say as far as their interactions with the college as a whole. So relationship building is the main purpose of the first 100 days, trying to know the who, what, when, and where, the ins and outs of how the institution operates, or something that I will be looking forward to in my first 100 days.
Right, right. When discussing those 100 days and talking to people and people taking you out, the listening tour, as you called it, is there anything specific that would perk your ears up? Like, okay, you're definitely somebody who fits with what I'm saying. I mean, is there anything specific that when you're on those 100 days that you, obviously you're looking for who fits what the culture is and all the things you just mentioned, but can you give us like a specificity of some things that you would be like that are very detailed, that's very important to you, that fit into the core values, I guess you mentioned earlier?
Sure. I think anything that aligns with my core values is something that would definitely get my ears perked up, but I think it's more important just to be open, and I don't necessarily have a script for those conversations, but it's asking open-ended questions and seeing where people go with it. And obviously you ask follow-up questions to get at the details that you need to get at, but I like to go into those conversations without a preconceived notion and see where folks allow the conversation to flow. And for me, it's about themes, and if I'm talking to multiple constituencies and they're saying the same thing, then every time that particular theme is brought up, my ears are going to get perked up, because if that many people are perceiving the department or certain individuals in a certain manner, then there must be something to that. So that is what I would look for. There's going to be the one-offs. People think X, Y, and Z, and that's not necessarily something that's carried over. So that would allow me to probe a little bit deeper and see if those other themes that I've brought forward are consistent with their thoughts as well. So I would be very open-minded going into that, in hopes that people will just be very transparent with me. In a meal and a cup of coffee usually puts people at ease to have those types of conversations. But I think that a discussion is extremely important and helps lay the foundation, because I'm sure they're going to want to know about me and what my vision is. And it's not a pre-made vision that I would be going in with. There's some things that I would like to see in general, but I would really look for some reinforcement from the conversations I would be having with various people.
Right, which are very important. Now, from my experience with you, Portia, you are a true Division III champion. You've worked in college athletics for 16 years, and then if you include the time that you were an athlete, it's almost 20 years working in Division III and in college athletics. Can you tell us what your experience from being a student athlete, from when you worked your way up in your career to your time at Allegheny College in the chair? What from that experience are you bringing with you to help you to be successful there at Rhodes College?
I think what is most important is I feel the most strongly about ensuring that everything is focused on the student-athlete experience. I recognize what was strong about my experience and what wasn't as strong about my experience. So it's important that I try to make those connections with our student athletes, and I try to reinforce their voice and empower them to use their voice when it is appropriate in certain manners. So I definitely try to keep that paramount to everything that is done. It's their experience, and we're all there to make sure that they have a good experience, but it's also a safe experience. It's also a fun experience. There's so many ways this experience is helping to develop them as a person, personally and also professionally. So I try not to lose sight of that, and I think in my time that is what I really try to keep at the forefront, is making sure I don't lose that connection with student athletes, because as an athletic director you can get more and more removed from that population, so you have to find ways to engage with them, whether it's having open meetings or office hours, or engaging with SAC, or captain's leadership programs. I mean, there's a whole bevy of things you can do to ensure that, but I never want to lose sight of this being about them. Sometimes you deal with parents or you deal with alumni, and they can make it about them, but it's really about this current group and the 4 years, hopefully the best 4 years of their life.
Right, and I can vouch for that. Of course, I hired one of your former students. He was, I think, an intern with you in your athletics department, and I hired him as a graduate assistant at the American Football Coaches Association. He's off doing great things in the NFL now, so I can vouch for that, and I think that is very important when you're talking about being in a leadership role with what parents consider their most important thing in their lives is their students, and they're coming to be a student athlete with you down there at Rhodes College. Portia, this has been an excellent conversation. I really appreciate you joining us here on One Question.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me once again. It's been a joy to talk to you.
That was Portia Hoeg. She is starting her new position as the Executive Director of Athletics at Rhodes College down in Memphis. She's a true Division III champion. And this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.